Okay, let's choose up. I'll take Jamal and Tutal. You can have Chubbs and Skippy. Let's go. My ball.
Okay. But you got skins.
Not a good negotiator? You don't have to be a good negotiator at McCarthy Chevrolet. McCarthy guarantees the lowest prices on a new Chevy or we'll pay you $10,000. We guarantee there's no need to shop anyplace else. McCarthy Chevrolet, I-35 and Santa Fe, Olathe.
Welcome to Hour 2 of the Midwest #1 weekly motorsports show, Track Talk, on the RacinBoys Broadcasting Network. Brought to you by McCarthy Chevrolet. Once again, here's Scott Traylor and Kirk Elliott.
Welcome back. Hour number 2 of Track Talk here on RacinBoys Radio. Hour number 2 exclusively on RacinBoys.com. Make sure you tell your friends about what we do here. I don't think everybody is really caught on to what we do, how we switch over. I've got our friend Sean Holbert, who is listening in the Great Northwest. Sean in the Dirt. Sean, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate that. I don't think I've seen Sean on the chat room during Track Talk before, but he's a great supporter of what we do with our broadcast out in the Northwest. I've been on his show a few times up there as well, so check him out at SeanInTheDirt.com. Hour number 2, like hour number 1, brought to you by McCarthy Chevrolet. Go to McCarthyChevrolet.com or KCCars.com. KCCars.com really takes you to basically the McCarthy Auto Group website. There's so many McCarthy dealerships around, and the new one that we forget to mention from time to time, now in Sedalia, McCarthy Toyota. So if you're into the Toyotas, the foreign cars, a good place to do it is down in Sedalia Toyota, McCarthy Toyota down there. So I know Kirk, he kind of likes those Toyotas a little bit.
I have one.
I know it. And it's about time to trade that sucker in, isn't it? How many miles that thing got on
I've got 93,000 miles.
You bought it new too, didn't you?
Bought it brand new.
It didn't have hardly any miles. It wasn't like a lease car.
Brand new. No miles on it hardly at all.
It must be pretty tough. I'm just saying. Kirk hard on cars. I'll just leave it there. You're hard on cars.
This one especially, it's been backed into.
Is that an understatement?
Turn your mic down, Todd. It's way too hot there.
It's been backed into 4 times in parking lots, and the last one I haven't got fixed yet.
Hey, listen, hold on. Before we're going to ask Todd about this, but we got a new feature here at RacinBoys.com. It's called the Todd Cam. And we are now looking at Todd in the studio. Look at you, Todd. You're on video and everything.
Early rise.
How about that right there?
He's
Todd Surprise
FaceTime.
got his own. Now, listen, that tells you what kind of stock Todd Surprise has right here. We put his own studio camera in there in the production room.
And this
I got the good camera.
This wasn't Todd that asked for this.
This was my idea.
You're spearheading this.
That's
you want
right.
to get him on.
Todd's
the
not
air.
self-serving, but
No.
we just I like it because see we can go from Todd to us and just kind of interact with you a little bit there, Todd. What do you think about that, buddy?
I got the good camera too.
Huh?
I got some real good.
You got an HD camera in there. Don't get used to that. I'm just saying. But anyway, it's pretty good, cool to have Todd in there on his camera, and so whenever we want to chime in, we'll just go to Todd. Say, hey, Todd, what are you doing in there, man? How about this, Todd? Maybe one of these days we could get you to play your guitar in there on screen. Would you do something like that? Live video? Would you? Probably freak you out just a little bit, wouldn't it, bud?
That'd be all right.
Yeah, that'd be all right.
It's radio.
It's radio. Anyway, so there you have it, the Todd Cam in the producer's room. How about that, Kirk? That's
There
cool.
you go.
Yeah,
it's cool.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Anyway, we've kind of just going to open it up here. Phone lines are open. Todd, put up the phone number so the listeners can call in if they'd like. I have got the addresses, and we are going to ship we've got a couple shirts that we need to ship out, and we haven't got them shipped out yet. So I just want to let you know we've got the address, got the shirts, just got them back from down there at the Chili Bowl. We're going to get them shipped out to you right after the Chili Bowl. So we got a couple shirts. You guys know who you are, and we'll get those out to you. But I will tell you this. I have a hat right here. And I'm going to give away this hat today. All right? Go to camera 1 there, Todd. I'm going to give away this hat today. But the only way you get this hat, brand new one, see, it's got the little sticker up here and everything. fitted hat, got the little RacinBoys RBN logo on the back. The only way that you can win a hat, and we're going to do this in the future now, you have to come to RacinBoys to pick it up. I don't want to have to be responsible for mailing these darn things. So what we're going to do is when you win, we'll get your information from you. We'll give you our phone number, and then we'll communicate with you on how to pick it up, because Kirk and I, we kind of have flex hours here at RacinBoys, don't we?
Yeah, we're not here from 8 to 5 or whatever.
We might be here from noon to 10 at night. We might be here from 9 to 5. We might be here from noon to 3. Who knows? So,
or if you show up at a racetrack, like it's during racing season, you show up at a racetrack somewhere, we'll bring it and hand it to you there.
You know what? That's what I ought to do.
We can do that.
That's what I ought to do, because Harvey Wallbanger, I've got to get him his shirt, man. He won that thing a long time ago, and I need to get that down there too. Maybe I could do that on the way back from Chili Bowl. Maybe I can get that arranged, or maybe he's going to come down to the Chili Bowl. But anyway, don't forget Chili Bowl live on RacinBoys starting Tuesday night, 9:95. Should be a lot of fun. All right, guys. I see Clint Brown on there. We were talking about Sean in the Dirt on there. Who else is on the chat room today? Want to welcome everybody in, and if there's anything you guys would like to, hey, 44Q, what's up? Good morning to you as well. If there's any subjects that you'd like to talk about, we're open to anything right now. Phone lines are open, 816-833-8553, 816-833-8553. You see the number right there. And if you're outside the Kansas City area, like Sean up in the great Northwest, if you need a toll-free number, 888-883-6363. Again, 888-883-6363. Phone lines are wide open. Todd will take your call and pump you right through to us here in the studio if you have anything to talk about. Kirk, let's talk first of all a little bit about the midget racing that we were talking about with Dennis Shroud a little bit. What do you think about that? I think that it could be successful. I think if they stick with it and people see, again, it's kind of like anything that's new in an area. Year number one doesn't always necessarily indicate what it's going to be like in the future. People don't want to see it for more than 1 year before a lot of people put a lot of stock into it. But I think Brian Kopinski hit on something, and we were talking about a little bit with Dennis Shroud, is there is quite a few of those cars within 150 miles a year. And you only need, 15 of them really to make a good race. How do you think it's going to fare out at Valley Speedway?
You just touched on something I am a little bit concerned about, and that's car count. Yeah, there are a few of them around, but are you going to get enough of them on a weekly basis to put on a good show for people? And I think you need at least 20 cars to really put on a good show for folks. Can you expect that right out of the gate? No, but if they're committed to it, if they see the future, they know that car count could be an issue to start with, but still remain committed to it and have a long-term view of where this might be headed, and don't have high expectations for the beginning and just keep working it, then I think it would have a chance to succeed. It's great racing. It fits at Valley Speedway because of the size of the racetrack. If you bring them in as part of the open wheel night on Friday night, which they are planning on doing, then that draws that crowd that's already there for sprint cars and fits in with what they're trying to do with the open wheel night. I think it's got a chance to work, but it's not going to be totally successful in a season or maybe even a couple of seasons. But if they have a long-term view of it and stick with it and are committed to it, then I think down the road it could really develop into something special because, as they pointed out, Kansas City has a lot of tradition of midget racing. It's an open wheel town. It's always been a great open wheel town, and I think if you keep working it, and you'll get the fans out to watch it.
I agree with you. Absolutely, 100%. And I always like telling people, we talk about midget racing, and Olympic Stadium was one of the racetracks that really brought open wheel racing to the forefront in this area. I mean, not more than 2 miles from where we're broadcasting right now was Olympic Stadium. And you know what? We need to bring old Bud Honeycutt in and some of the old-timers in and talk about the old days maybe before the winter gets over when we have a little downtime and things aren't as crowded during the summer months. Maybe we need to do that, bring on Bud and talk about that. But a lot of people don't know, and I've used this 1,000 times. You probably heard it on the show, but A.J. Foyt won his very first USAC midget race here in Kansas City at Olympic Stadium in 1957. So there's a little history. It goes way back, and if you think about it, back in the day, voted him into the Central Auto Racing Boosters Hall of Fame when I was a part of that committee. Boo Boo Badami won 4 national midget championships in the 40s. So if that tells you anything about the rich history of drivers and people that have run open-wheel cars in this community back in the day. So I'm kind of excited about what he's doing out there, and we'll just have to take a wait-and-see approach out. You know, to be honest with you, Kirk, I didn't think if I had to lay my money down at the start of this year or before they made the announcement that they were going to run on Friday nights again in 2013 at Valley, I would have said no, to be honest with you. The car count average, I think Dennis told me with the wingless auto racing series, the war guys, the non-wing cars. Well, let me back up. Valley Sprints. We don't want to confuse them because Dennis worked really hard at establishing the name and really establishing this series before the war guys kind of latched on to the rules and kind of taking it into some other directions. But the Valley Sprints, their average car count's 20 a week. That's pretty damn good.
Yeah, that class has been a big success. I don't think you can say it any other way. The racing has been outstanding. I mean, we've seen some great racing in that division this year, and the car count, as you pointed out, is first rate. And through most of the season, there were a couple of nights there right at the end of the season where the racing wasn't as good as it was early in the year. But you cannot argue the success that division has had on Friday nights out at Valley Speedway, and that is what's carried that Friday night at Valley is the car count in that non-wing sprint car division. It's been pretty spectacular, really, and the racing has just been incredible at times out there.
Yeah, no doubt. And you know what? Their Saturday night program thrives as well, and I think we were all a little bit critical of Dennis putting the dirt on late in the year, but I think most people understood what he had to do there. Probably saved him $20,000 maybe by allowing them to put the dirt on the racetrack instead of dumping it on his property and then him having to move it over there with his equipment and his diesel fuel. So a lot of people were critical of it, really.
Well, the only thing I would have probably done is not race that very first weekend right after he put the dirt on it.
Take a week off. Really work it better. You're still going to have some issues beyond that, but you could have beat it down with the sheep's foot for a week.
I'm thinking let's take the first weekend off right after you put the dirt down. That's hard to do right in the middle of August.
Well, that's
honest
2
with
nights worth of revenue that you're going to lose out
exactly.
on as well.
That's a hard thing for a promoter to do, but I think that would have given them just a little bit extra time to try to work that track in a little bit better, and that was the toughest part. It was that very first weekend right after the dirt was put down.
Racing in the Kansas City area is going to have a little different look to it, now that Mike Johnson owns Lakeside Speedway and 2 tracks in the same market competing against each other, but with the way Dennis has it set up, it shouldn't be too much of a conflict because, let's face it, open-wheel fans are open-wheel fans. And if they're hardcore sprint car fans, they're going to be at Valley on Friday night. And if you're a hardcore modified or B-mod or street stock type person or a Grand National fan, you're going to be at Lakeside on Friday night. So I think they really take care of all the racing enthusiasts on Friday nights when you look at both tracks. I don't think one hurts the other, really, to be honest with you.
No, I don't think it really affects all that much between the 2 racetracks. I think if Valley Speedway plays their cards right and gets the technical aspect of it down, the tech inspections and things, and really adhere to those rules and really, bears down on making sure that all of the technical side of it is, there is no reason in the world why Valley Speedway can't draw a very healthy field of cars in that USRA modified division on a nightly basis on Saturday nights and start to bring in a lot of those guys that race Friday nights out at Lakeside Speedway.
I want to give a shout out to Dan Robinson. We should have tried to call him in this hour. He just won a pretty prestigious award, Promoter of the Year in the Great Plains region. He's the Great Plains Region Promoter of the Year. And a lot of people, famous promoters, have won that over the years. That says a lot about Dan Robinson, what he's doing down there at Lucas Oil Speedway, Kirk. Congratulations to Dan.
Yeah, he's brought stability to that position. You remember the first few years that Forrest Lucas had owned the racetrack after it opened, after it had been renovated. Mm-hmm. They'd gone through a couple of 3 different guys there. and just didn't have the stability that they needed. Dan Robinson has brought that, and he fits in with what Forrest wants at that racetrack. He's just done an outstanding job as the general manager at Lucas Oil Speedway, and you can just kind of tell ever since Dan has taken over just how much that place has really grown in terms of its weekly operation, especially the car counts that they're bringing in on the weekly shows and some of the other events that Dan has worked hard at and helping Forrest Lucas build up the facility, the Lake Lucas and the other aspects, the growth, the overall growth of the facility that we've seen since Dan has taken over as general manager has been really big. And congratulations to him. It's well-earned honor.
That's a National Media of the Year award, and that's the first time he's been nominated for that award. So that really solidifies what he does, what he's been doing down there. Nearly a 17% increase, and over 70,000 fans went through the turnstiles down there at Lucas Oil Speedway. Anytime that you can grow in a down economy 17% from one year to the next, when the trend, let's face it, we talked about Lakeside, we've talked about a lot of racetracks around this area, that the trend is down a little bit, and we're seeing attendance down. To get such a substantial amount of increase at 17%, which, folks, that's a big number. You look for maybe 4 or 5%, maybe 10% increase, but you get over 15%, you start pushing that 20% increase percentage. That's something really to be proud of.
Well, what I think Dan Robinson does a really good job of is going down into the pits and talking with the drivers and taking to heart just what their concerns are and listening to them and listening to the fans, and he's very conscientious and very honest with a lot of integrity, and he wants to do the right thing for Forrest and his racetrack, and I think it's a well-deserved honor, and I hope he wins that national award. I think he deserves that.
Well, and let's be fair, he just added to the pile now, workload. He is now he's going to be basically running the MLRA late model series. Now, he won't be at all the events, but it is under his guidance, the series is now that it has been sold to Lucas Oil. Cowboy and Harriet Chancellor have decided to retire, and I believe they're still going to be on board as somewhat of maybe a support in some capacity. There'll still be a part of that, but the owners and the leadership now has been moved over to Lucas Oil and Dan Robinson. So look for and I'm not trying to say anything about Cowboy and Harriet, but they were getting up there in the years. Let's be fair. They weren't really internet savvy. In fact, Harriet said more than one occasion she didn't care about the internet. And listen, we understand a lot of people that are older than us don't really connect with the internet. You know what I'm saying? This isn't anything. This isn't all about Harriet and Cowboy. This is just about their generation. And even some people our age, Kirk, really.
Sure.
Internet, I don't need that. Call me on the phone if you need me.
Well, especially the social media aspect of the internet is so big nowadays. And
that's where I think you're going to see the biggest improvement when it comes to MLRA. You're going to see it kind of translate into more of a current marketing philosophy and the way they do things. Ashley Berry is a big supporter, along with Trenton Berry, of MLRA and how Ashley works down there at Lucas Oil Speedway. Trenton is going to be the voice, the way I understand it, of MLRA. Lloyd Collins over there. They've all wanted to push it into that new direction of the current internet social media philosophy, and now this is going to be their opportunity.
That's why this is going to be such a seamless transition, because the personnel is already in place and has been in place for quite some time. Talk about Ernie from the technical side, and you mentioned Lloyd and Trenton and Ashley and everybody, and all the other officials has traveled the circuit. They can just kind of take the reins, and Dan Robinson really doesn't need to be at every event because it's going to be handled pretty well, just like it has been. And that's the one thing about Cowboy and Harriet. It's been a well-run series since they've had the series for quite a number of years, and I think Harriet's done a very good job of building up the contingency sponsors over the years. That's going to continue, but the personnel that Cowboy and Harriet had assembled around them to run the series, they're still going to be around, and they all do a great job.
Yeah, well, looking forward to it. And again, congratulations, Dan, on being the Great Plains Region Promoter of the Year. Pretty big deal. So good job by him. And looking forward, man, I just don't get to go down to Lucas Oil Speedway enough. Love going down to that place. But just because of traveling and scheduling demands for me out on the national tour, it's tough when we have nearly 60 dates. You get down there a little more often than I do, Kirk, but it's the diamond of dirt tracks.
Well,
Let's face it. I've been to a lot of nice dirt tracks, and there's some really nice ones around the country. But there's always, if one track is close to being like a Lucas Oil Speedway, and there's a few that come to mind that you think, man, this is really close to Lucas Oil Speedway, there's always one thing that really kind of separates it. You know, if everything's all equal, you can always find something that they do down there that just separates them maybe from other dirt tracks around the country.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. And you can have a palace of a facility like there is at Lucas Oil Speedway, but you still have to be hands-on. It's still about people. And proof of how good a job Dan Robinson has done down there is the car counts on their weekly shows and the crowds that they draw in on their weekly shows, as well as their special events. Especially in hard times, the economy, it still takes a hands-on person to be able to pull that off. And I think that's the proof of Dan Robinson's job of what he's done down there.
Yeah. I know, Clint. I know a lot of people had several conversations with Harriet over the years and about internet.
Yeah.
She took a hard stance on that.
It's vital this day and age. I mean, it's just everything.
Right.
And you just can't get along without it.
Yep. I see 4915 and 8959. They're all chiming in here. So, guys, kind of create a name in there because I like to know who I'm talking to. They're using the generic number, see Wrench29. I wonder who Wrench29 is, Kurt.
Would that happen to be part of my family?
It might be part of the Elliott
Yeah.
family right there. I'm thinking Wrench29. That would either be Dick or that would be, you think that could be Dennis?
I'm not sure about that. I don't know.
Does your brother Dick listen into the show?
One of the two. Yeah, he listens in.
God bless you. Yeah.
Hey, while I bring it up, and my brother brought this up too, he'd had a computer that was on an XP operating system where the menu bar up at the top didn't display the right way. And we'd had some issues about this. If you have an Internet Explorer browser number 7, upgraded to 8 or 9, and the XP system, even if you upgrade it to an Internet Explorer 8, doesn't really have it where you can get the drop down. Go to a Chrome browser, and that should
funny.
be able to fix the problem.
That's
I
funny.
know I've
Somebody
had a
said
couple of
that
people,
on there, right there on the chat room. Did you see that? Was that the reason you brought that up?
No.
So this has to be related to you because it's Wrench29 that Kirk had to install Google Chrome to fix what we talked about.
I talked to him about that the other night, but I hadn't had too many complaints about that. But since we launched this new site around Thanksgiving time, there has been some issues with certain Internet Explorer browsers. And just go to Google Chrome, no matter what kind of operating
Kirk,
system
you were just saying that you
weren't.
weren't really all computer smart. How about that, Todd?
I'm not.
Todd, he's much more computer smart than you and I, isn't he, bud?
Way more.
Hey,
when it comes down to being the tech guy around here,
these are all suggestions.
When we have questions, who do we go to?
I don't pretend to know anything.
These are all suggestions that come from our IT folks, Brian and Ian. So
right, I love this. I love this. I'll be able to look. I can't see from where I'm sitting. I cannot see Todd. We've got this kind of big screen TV in here, so he's hiding behind the screen. But now I can look in there and see if you're fooling around doing nothing. Lloyd's on the chat room. He just chimed in. He just said his number is 8959. Lloyd, how you doing, brother? Miss you, man. We need to get you in here more often. Skip Dog 33 is in there. Good morning, boys. Race Fan WB now chiming in on there. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Kirk, we did get the internet fixed here too, by the way, didn't we? So they shouldn't have any problems. Keep our fingers crossed, right?
A couple of weeks ago, I'll say it. Comcast is our internet service provider. They had
They suck. I'm just saying.
They had a connection out about a block away from here that had stretched the cable and was causing the internet to go.
But let's be fair,
funny.
Kirk. Every time we call them, they do come out here. The problem is we call them way too often.
Well, now that we're a business customer,
First name basis.
Oh yeah, that's it. We're on the business.
that
account.
we're on the business
In other words,
account,
we pay
they
them
hop to it.
In other words, we pay them more money now, so
Yeah.
they get to it a little bit more. But
And they don't want you talking about it.
We
They
thought,
don't- right,
well,
right.
we went through that for
They
2
suck.
Saturdays, and the first Saturday we thought, yeah, it was fixed. You know, they were going to have fixed it, and we come back and tested it. Everything seems to go fine. And right as we got on the air, it went bad again.
Yeah.
The second weekend.
nothing that ticks us off more than having a bad internet connection, is there, Kurt?
So hopefully
when you're in
we
the
got it
internet
fixed now.
business,
Right.
How many times do people call in on the phone here and have like they want to buy the internet from us? How many times has that happened to you?
Oh, a lot. Yeah, people
I don't know
think
if we're
an
in a
internet
category-
service provider.
That's what they do. Now, who would look at the yellow pages and see Racing Boys? Say, oh, I'm gonna buy my internet through that company.
Maybe we ought to
What
start
the
selling
hell
it.
is that all
Let's
about?
buy my internet through RacinBoys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe we need to get into that.
We need to get into that.
compete against the big boys like Time Warner Cable and Comcast. No,
No.
we're not doing that.
As long as the internet works at the Chili Bowl this weekend, that's the main thing.
Hey,
right?
let's talk about it. Some of the people are talking about it here on the chat room. Clint Brown brought it up, and I want to talk to it. In fact, I put a call into Mike White. Maybe if we could, I don't know if Mike's ready to talk. I don't think he's released his schedule yet. But
They're going to Saturday
they're going to
nights.
Saturday nights. And they're dropping the 305s as well.
That surprises me because that
I'm disappointed in that. I'm
Well,
not going to lie to you. Obviously, for self-serving reasons, I'm disappointed.
well, the Whites have I mean, they come from the 305s. That's they've raced them. That's what they do is the 305 sprints, and to even consider that the Whites would be dropping the 305s at their racetrack, I find that rather shocking.
I
Really,
believe they're going to have 4 ASCS Warrior Region races down there. I wish we'd bring back the national tour. We had a good race down there. If you remember, Zach Chappell looked like he was on his way to win down there and got over the bank and came back up and hit Danny Wood. And who ended up winning that race? Shane Stewart win that race?
I can't remember.
I can't remember. It's too many races ago. But anyway, you know what? I think Saturday night is good. With now that CMS is not racing, I think it works for them down there.
Sure.
I think that they'll maybe pull some more people from Kansas City to maybe go down there and watch on Saturday nights. Maybe some of the people that normally went to Central Missouri Speedway will go over there on Saturday nights.
I think you're always going to draw a bigger crowd when you run on Saturday nights, especially out in the country like that. Mm-hmm. It makes sense that they would do that.
Because you have enough options here close to Kansas City. The Kansas City people are not going to go all the way to L.A. Not many of them are going to go all the way to L.A. to watch a race on Friday night, because by the time you get off work, then you got to go through either the Grandview Triangle or you go – you know, there's not an easy way to get down there on Friday nights when you're talking about rush hour traffic. And I
Right.
think that was a major play in it. I am disappointed about dropping the 305s. I understand it, but I am disappointed, obviously, self-serving reasons again, because Lauren Clem and Jeff and I having a little race team for Lauren. This forces our hands now to get into 360 racing, which, quite honestly, we're not financially prepared to do. To be truthful with you, we're looking for a 360 motor, and I'm putting a car together. We're going to keep the 305 together in case we can go run maybe a United Rebel Sprint Car Series race or something like that if there's a big 305 race around. But it's kind of sped up our progress of what we wanted to do. And now we're going to have to build a 360. So hopefully we can get our hands on a 360 or lease one from somebody and put it on a percentage of the winnings or something like that. But yeah, I'm a little disappointed in that, but when you only have 10 or 12 cars on an average, maybe peak out at 14, 15, I get it. But it seemed like they had a lot of fans, though. And I know Lauren really started to establish a fan base down there as well. And with the success that we had at the end of the year, that's what really kills us. You win the last 3 out of 4. Now you're thinking, man, we can't wait till next year we make a run at that championship and maybe just spot race a little 360 racing. So, I don't know what people think about that.
Yeah, that's why it kind of surprised me. Well, it did not kind of. It did shock me that they dropped the 305 class, but you always thought that they drew a certain amount of people in the stands for those 305 sprints, almost as much as some of the modified classes did. Even though the car count may not be what they wanted, those cars drew fans to the racetrack. At least I thought they did.
Well, I did too. So we'll just have to get Mike on. I think he's trying to finalize his schedule. I mean, we could go in there and try to give him a call and see if he wants to come on and talk. Or if Bob, Hollywood Bob's usually on here listening, if you want to Bob tried to get hold of Mike. I called him about 9 o'clock last night, and he didn't answer right away, so I hung up. But
that was kind of a last-minute thought.
It was a last-minute
kind of
thought.
thinking through things. If we'd planned it out a little bit better, we could have
Right.
called him sooner. But we'll get him on. If not today, we'll talk to him here in the next couple of weeks and about the Saturday night program and what lies ahead at LA Raceway.
Clint said he hadn't heard for sure that they are dropping the 305s. Mike told me he was himself a couple weeks ago. And what do guys do now? Now do those guys? And let's talk about this just a little bit. Did the War Series and the Valley Sprints, did that kind of kill 305 racing around here? Because it looked like it was growing pretty good, and it had legs under it. And then about the time they started doing the non-wing thing, it kind of took some of the people out of the equation. You think that hurt it, Kurt?
Oh, it would have some impact. I don't think there's any doubt about that. The biggest thing about 305 racing all over the country is trying to get the rules standardized for everybody. Seems like you still have different rules packages for different 305 groups, and that's kind of held that division back some. And but the fact that they added the non-wing sprint car class out at Valley Speedway and that moved into the War Series, that probably affected it some, sure, because a lot of those drivers that would normally run the 305 ranks are, I wouldn't call them field fillers, but guys that would come in, maybe not really the ones that contended for wins on a lot of the bases, but they would rather run the non-wing sprints with the big boys than the 305s.
Let's be fair. It's a lot more feasible financially to run a Valley Sprint car or a War car
purse money
than it is to run a 360 ASCS car. We know that. And I would say that there's probably not much difference between running a wing 305 and the non-wing cars.
The fact that you're not running a wing saves on engines, saves the amount of money that you'd spend on horsepower.
Right.
By taking that wing off.
I'm trying to read through some of the stuff that people are talking about.
I think there's a lot to that. You take those wings off. The purse money is bigger by running in the War and the Valley Sprint Car division.
Okay.
I mean, just to start the A main, you're going to get paid more money than what they pay in the 305 sprints. But not only that, the cost of running a non-wing car versus even a wing 305 car. I would think still running a wing 305 car would be cheaper than running a non-wing car. But you can run the 305 engine in the non-wing class.
I think a 305 is won with the Valley Sprints as well. Yeah. Maybe with Mitchell Moore. I think you have to have a little talent to carry
by allowing all those engine packages.
410, 360s, 305s, but they all weigh the same, and they all have to run this super hard right rear tire.
How much of it do you think the fact that Mitchell Moore dominated so much at LA Raceway and won virtually every night out, how much that discouraged a lot of the people that would normally run that class?
Good point. You got a good point there.
I mean, I hate to throw blame to Mitchell Moore. He earned it. I mean, what's he supposed to do?
He's a veteran sprint car driver, though. I mean, let's face it. He knows how to. He's had success in a 410, 360, and when he jumps in a 305, he outclasses a lot of the drivers down there. But the fact is, like with our little sprint car team, he set the bar to where we wanted to be.
Sure.
And we knew if we could outrun Mitchell Moore, we could win a race. So that for us was motivation, it didn't deter us from wanting to go back and run.
Yeah, I don't want to sit here and cast blame to Mitchell Moore. He did everything he was supposed to do. I mean, that's good for him. But I'm just wondering, some of the drivers, and you look at it like I think it ought to be looked at. He sets the standard. That's what we ought to strive to. I'm just not sure some of the other competitors look at it that way. They should.
Yeah, Kirk, here's a question by RPMX. Scott, if I sign up for the broadcast on this computer today, home, will I be able to log into the broadcast from another computer when I'm out of town next week, work computer? Is it account Pacific or computer?
No, you can log in to any.
It doesn't matter what computer. You just have to have the password, right?
Yeah, you just have to have your username and password, and you
Right.
should be able to log in.
So
and
there you go.
Yep.
Doesn't matter where you're at. You can now, Kirk. Questions that people have asked about listening on their phones. That's been a
Yes.
big deal in the past for people.
I've got an iPhone, and I was down at the Tulsa Shootout last week, and I logged in on my iPhone as I was walking around the Expo Center, and I could pick up the broadcast just fine on my iPhone. It's a little more of a delay, but not much, but it's coming in really good. So if you can pick it up on an iPhone, I have to believe the Androids or the other handheld devices, you should be able to pick them up. I can't guarantee you that all handheld devices will be able to pick them up, but most handheld devices should be able to pick up the broadcast this year down at the Chili Bowl.
Got Lloyd Collins. He's on there too. He hadn't put his name on it, but he's 8959 and linked to our. You know, like how he puts our. Link to our Lucas Oil MLRA crew, Ernie, Wayne, Randy, Missy, Sean, and myself, and there's a link on there, Fast Track Photos. So if you want to check that out, that'd be great.
Yeah, let's get those names in. Ernie, Wayne, Randy, Missy, Sean, and Lloyd.
Okay, right.
They're great, just like you said.
Right.
I want to repeat that again because those guys, you know, Lloyd, Trenton, and Ashley we mentioned earlier, that's why Dan Robinson won't need to go around to all of the events this year and still be able to run that series. It's because those names right there we just mentioned.
Hey, Todd.
Yes, sir.
Kirk, sometimes he doesn't like to listen, does he?
No, I'm just repeating it. I'm just emphasizing what you'd already said. Those names are the big reason why Dan Robinson is not going to be able to go around all the. He doesn't need to go around to all the events this year.
Todd.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you're talking to Kirk, though,
In and out.
it's like
I heard exactly what you said.
Todd.
You brought up all those names. I'm just repeating it. I'm emphasizing it. That's all I was doing.
easy, bud. It's okay. We're just having a
I
little
heard
fun
you.
with you.
I
We're just
heard
having
you.
a little fun here.
I heard you. I was listening.
Okay. All right. Let's see what else they're wanting to talk about on here. Let's see. Shameless plug. Lloyd says, I don't know who 1904 is. Maybe they could put a name in there. Love listening on my Droid when you were up here in the Northwest with the national tour, because you could listen to the interviews from the stands, and that's a pretty big deal. I don't know if maybe that might be Sean still. Maybe he logged off and got back on, and that might be Sean in the Dirt 1904. Again, we'd really appreciate you guys putting your name to it. Lloyd, I know you can figure it out. You don't have to be 8959. I know you're smart enough to figure that out right there, bud. But and if you missed it in hour number one, we'll talk about it just briefly here again. RacinBoys are moving into a new field of broadcasting. We're going to make an announcement on Tuesday at the Lucas Oil Chili Bowl Nationals. You'll be able to hear it on RacinBoys. We're going to make an announcement. We'll kind of tease it up here just a little bit again, like we did in hour number one. RacinBoys is going into paid per view in 2013. You can imagine where we're going to be as far as with the Lucas Oil ASCS National Tour. But we're going to announce where and the dates on Tuesday. And we're going to hopefully do a handful of pay-per-view events in 2013. We've been really pushed to do this. It's glaring that people want it. We saw last week down there at the Tulsa Shootout that they had pay-per-view down there, and it was successful for those guys. And we've worked with Michael Rigsby at Dirt on Dirt and the folks up at Turn 2 Media up at Knoxville, who's been doing live internet video broadcasting for the last 3 years. We do have a relationship with those guys at Turn 2 Media. We're using their platform to do our paid-per-view. That's the same platform that Michael Rigsby at Dirt on Dirt uses. And basically, we're kind of going to lean on those guys for technical advice to get us through it so we can bring you the best product as possible. And we're looking forward to it. So, again, we're going to announce pay-per-view on RacinBoys.com, and it's going to be sooner than you think, the first event. You looking forward to that, bud?
Yeah. It's coming up.
Huh?
We can't really give any more details than that, right?
Are you nervous, though, about all this?
Sure.
Huh?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Of course I'm nervous.
It's been racking our little peanut brains over here at RacinBoys, let me tell you, folks. But we're excited about it. Basically, what you see, the cameras and stuff that we use in here, it's going to be a big part of what we do out there on the pay-per-view broadcast. So I think people will be excited about what events we're going to do. We're only going to announce a couple events on Tuesday. We're still working on maybe a couple more events before the end of the year. Don't look for us to do every race, anything like that. You can't do that. It's not feasible. Doesn't make good business sense to do every. But we hope to do up to a handful of them in 2013. That means you might have to travel a little bit more, Kirk.
Uh-oh.
How about Kirk traveling a little bit more?
Uh-oh. New car.
Do whatever it takes, man.
Maybe we'll take the old RacinBoys bus. I need to get a hold of David Goodson down there at Impact Signs, Linings, and Wraps and get that wrap on the bus. And that way you'll travel with me up and down the road. How about that?
Nah, I wouldn't want to do that all the time, no.
Huh? Todd?
No.
You want to hit the road, man? Because I can't get Kirk. Oh, you can't either, can you?
I got those kids.
We got RacinBoys TV coming up this year, too. We got to work on that,
That's all. You're Mr. Mom, aren't you, Todd?
Yeah,
Huh?
I do a little of everything.
You do?
Yeah. Stay-at-home dad and
You're doing what you're supposed to do, Todd.
taking care of business.
Yep.
Yeah. How often do you play the guitar at home, though? Every day?
Yeah, I would say yeah.
Yeah. You know, when Kirk,
My kids play guitar.
when Kirk and I decided to get you something for Christmas, we knew where to go.
Yeah, that wasn't too hard to.
That was a no-brainer.
It will be put
Guitar Center. Gift card at Guitar Center goes a long way with old Todd Surprise.
Yes,
That's for
sir.
sure.
We're big customers at that place. That's the one place where you can buy all kinds of the equipment that we need. And it's kind of interesting. You go into that. It's a music store. So anything that you ask about, it's always in the concept, well, what kind of a band are you with? Or what kind of musical instrument are you hooking up to this? Or what?
None. That's
no,
what we
that's not
say,
what-
anyway. Hey, you know what we forgot to mention, too, Kirk? Out of all this that we're going to be doing down at the Chili Bowl, we're going to do the post-race press conference, which is up in a media room up top by the office at the Chili Bowl. And what year did we do that?
Oh, it's been 3 or 4 years ago. We did that for a couple of years in a row.
We're going to stream that live. That's going to be free for people to watch. So
We've
spread
done that before,
around.
but it's been a couple of years.
You guys up in the Northwest that are listening right now, make sure you spread that around on the forum boards and everywhere you can. That we are going to stream a little live video. It'll be the post-race press conferences. It'll be the top 3 finishers from each night. We'll go upstairs. Todd's going to be up there helping us with that. So that's something that we haven't done in a couple of years, but now that we're moving into this whole pay-per-view and we're going to be doing a little bit more live video, we figured what better time to do that than at the Chili Bowl Nationals. And people say, well, why don't you just carry the equipment right down there and do the Chili Bowl, the race itself? That could happen in the future, but not this year. I would say there's a very good chance that could happen in the future, but just wasn't in the cards this year. But with things that we've got working on behind the scenes, hopefully we'll be able to pull that off next year.
And a lot of the video packages that you saw up there from the Tulsa Shootout, more of the same from the Chili Bowl. So
I would say we only put up 9 or 10 videos on YouTube, and they got great response. And Kirk, did you see that one interview with the little kid? What was his name? Weston
Gorham.
Gorham.
Yeah, that was great.
That's real emotions there, folks. You've got to watch. It's had over 900 views because it's not what the kid says. It's just how spent he is. He just won the qualifier. You know, he had all this pressure on him, this little 12-year-old kid. And Scotty Cook did an interview with him directly after he pulled off the track in the tech area. And, I mean, his little mind was just like, oh, God, I'm so glad that's over. That was so taxing on him, you know. Every time I watch it, and I've watched it 10 or 15 times, I laugh out loud. I mean, it just tickles me to no end, the little kid, and how he was so spun out and so relieved to get that race over and maybe make it into the A main. He was it was something else. Anyway, we did about 9 or 10 of those videos. We did some with Chris Wilner, who again did a great job with us on the broadcast last week, as well as Scotty Cook and myself. I'll be doing some down there, Scotty. And I'm going to say, I hate to put a number on it, but I would guess to say that we're going to have 20 to 50 videos up there because we have Todd that's going down there with us this year. And with Justin Zock kind of helping lead the broadcast, it's not as important for me to be up there in the booth as much. So I'm going to chase Scotty around, and I'm going to be running that stuff back to to Todd, who's going to be loading it up on YouTube. It's going to be rapid fire, folks. We're going to be cranking that stuff out right and left at the Chili Bowl. So pay attention to what's going on Racing Boys YouTube page. Should be a lot of stuff going on there. We're going to be doing the Kick It for Cancer game. Scotty and I are going to umpire that game on Wednesday. We'll probably have plenty of video of that. Casey Kane, Tony Stewart, they're going to be doing some one-on-ones with who is it with there? With Dave Augerbright? Who are they with? Who are they doing that with?
I don't know.
Oh, you should know that. I should know that. That's terrible that I dropped the ball on that. But anyway, Kick It for Cancer is going to be good. That's a Jeff Gordon Foundation helping kids that are terminally ill with cancer. Johnny Herrera's wife, Carla, has been working really hard with Donna Hahn to put that together. So Scotty and I will be a part of that. Tony Bachhoven will be the host of that event and be emceeing that event.
That's in the pavilion, right?
In the pavilion, and that'll be Wednesday at noon. They'll have an auction up there as well, so you'll be able to buy some really cool items from the auction. So if you're going to be down at the Chili Bowl, try to make it over to the pavilion noon, a little bit before noon, and participate in the Kick It for Cancer deal. That's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it. And again, Carla Herrera has done just a tremendous amount of work. They did it out at the Western World. It was very successful out there, so they thought they'd do it again. I think they raised $7,000 or $8,000 out there at the Western World. They're hoping for a way bigger number than that at the Chili Bowl because there's going to be 15 or 20,000 people there, unlike what we had out at the Western World where they've got 1,500 people. So looking for great things out of the Kick It for Cancer. Again, that is Wednesday at noon at the pavilion next to the Chili Bowl.
Yeah, that's not that building. Where is that? Now on the north side of the Expo Center?
You would ask me that.
It's on the grounds. It's right close by.
So that should be a lot of fun. Can't wait to do that. And it's all about the kids. And there's a lot of fun that goes on. Drivers cutting back and forth. And, the kids are never out when it comes to the Kick It for Cancer game either. That kid's always going to be safe. This umpire, I might accidentally blow a call or two to make sure a kid's safe on first base. I'll just say. So I'm really pumped up about that. Again, Wednesday at noon at the pavilion at the Tulsa Expo Center right next to it.
Had a question here. If you order pay-per-view, will it be there in the archive section in case you're not able to, well, you can't watch it, but listen to it live? Yeah, we will have archives there on the same page where you can listen to it live, and you can go back and listen to all the archives.
Yeah, that'll be good. No new news on Lakeside Speedway. Haven't had a chance to talk to Mike Johnson as of late, but the last conversation I did have with him, he felt that everything was going as planned when it came to the lawyers, and they thought that they would be able to ramrod that thing through. We've chose to wait until after we get back from the Chili Bowl so we can get the full schedule, full announcements, get more details. He's done some interviews, but really didn't have all the information about his scheduling and what he's going to be doing and capital improvements. One thing we know is that they're going to fix the wall down the back straightaway, got big plans for that. You're going to see a lot of paint and a lot of cleanup. And as years goes on, Mike Johnson's going to do some great capital improvements out there. Probably a lot of things that you're not going to see that he's going to spend money on.
Yeah, I think he was just more comfortable making public comments about what he was going to do once he's got the full access to the facility and the closing has been handled and all of that is completed. And he's officially the owner.
I know one thing. He wished that he could have got it done sooner so he could be hands-on right now because every day that he can't work on the track, it puts him another day behind.
Well, I'm guessing before the end of the month that it should be finished up. You'd hope so anyway.
Yeah.
Because he'll need all that time before the start of the season to kind of get everything the way he wants it.
Right. Hey, Atchison County Raceway has made an announcement this week, Kirk, they're going to run E-mods. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that.
What do you think of that?
I'm okay with that. I mean, a small track like that up at Atchison, I think that fits in with what he wants to do on that little racetrack, and it's something that you don't find anywhere else. And if he can ramp that up and make that work, all more power to him.
I have mixed emotions about it. I'm not going to lie to you. I understand that the B mods are already starting to get a little bit out of hand, and let's face it, it doesn't matter what class you put up. Eventually, it's going to get out of hand. I hear that the E-mods are very popular down in the Springfield area. But that leads me to how many of those cars are up here in this area, and how many cars will they have? And is there too many classes? Does that make that makes 3 modified classes? That are A mods, B mods, E mods. Is there a point to where it gets confusing to people?
Well, it is, but in this case, I was very much against the B mod class when they ramped that up, thinking, what's happened here? Why do we got to go to a B mod class? Well, because we let the A mods get out of hand. Mm-hmm. In this circumstance, I think this is track specific to Atchison County Raceway of what they want to do on that particular racetrack. I'm not sure I would like that just everywhere, but at that particular racetrack, it might be something that fits what he's trying to do at that particular location.
And I'm going to make it up there this year. And, I know they think we pick on them up there because we had a little fun with the website one day talking about the gun going off. We have fun. Listen, but don't be so sensitive. We have fun with every racetrack, and they're not as sensitive. They don't get on there and, they're kicking me. And we hear that they're not happy with us up there. I mean, come on. Let's call it a spade a spade. They didn't like it when we talked about it, but no disrespect. We have fun with everybody on here. Nobody is sacred around here. We've had fun with every promoter and every racetrack around here. And just don't be so sensitive about little things like that. Don't worry about the little things. You know what? We talk about you. Be happy that we're talking about you. And I want to get up there and check out the races. I want to see them. I hear that 15 cars, 16 cars might be about the most you can put on for any one race. And you know what? I do like what they've done. And I think we're a little bit of the reason for this, to be honest with you, Kirk. And I'm quick to self-serve here a little bit on RacinBoys from time to time. We've been talking about how small it is and little, and how it's on 10 acres, and there's not much room in the pits, and and we've commented that the place, what we look at on the video, looks nice, clean, done a really cool job of fixing it up, but it's small, and they've kind of used that to their advantage now, calling it the cage, like a cage match.
Right.
I like that. That's not. Listen, see that's a good thing.
Yeah, if you can
kind of make a different spin on it a little bit than maybe some of these other racetracks. Make it like, it's a little bitty bull ring, kind of like Olympic Stadium was, and you can't put a lot of tracks on it, or a lot of cars on the track, and you can't put a lot of cars in the pits, but when the cars are out there, you're going to see beating and banging. Some people will say that that's good. The fans like it, as long as they don't drag out the show, but I have heard drivers say, I'm not going up there because I tear up my car. They kind of condone that a little bit of beating and banging up there a little bit. So it's a double-edged sword when you kind of paint your track as one of those cage match type places.
Yeah, if you can carve out a niche for yourself and not try to be what everybody else is.
I think it's good.
Be unique and all these types of things. I don't think that's such a bad thing. Just the facility wouldn't lend itself, as far as the size to try to go and bring in the big time shows. But I don't think he ever had thought he would do that anyway. I mean, I remember talking to him when he first constructed the racetrack, that he knew his limitations as far as size is concerned, and knew that he'd have to do some things differently than most other places. And I think that's exactly what he's doing right now. So it's a facility up there that's different from what you see anywhere else. And they've got their first full season under their belts, and they're moving forward. Good luck to them.
Yeah.
And I think, from what I've heard, some of the races have been pretty good. They had a sprint car race up there during the summer that was really good. A non-wing, I think a war race up there that was really good.
They got K-rail up there, don't they? They got guardrail up there, don't they?
I don't know that.
From what I've seen of the fence looks pretty safe up there. From just pictures, I don't know. But if they got guardrail around there, I'm not a big fan of guardrail or K-barriers. Not a big fan of that.
But
you got to have some fence if you're going to have K-rail. If you're going to have guardrail or barriers from like off the highway, you better have a fence on top of it. Take a lesson from Terre Haute, folks. Shane Meal,
yeah,
and his accident,
that
flipping
was
upside
bad,
down with a non-wing car with this cage landing on hard concrete like that. I'm just going to say it. That's my number one pet peeve right now in racing: track safety. Across the board. A lot of tracks do it really well. some do it really bad. And folks, I'm not going to point out tracks, but I can tell you some parts of the country, when I roll in, I look at these racetracks and go, oh my, I hope that fence can hold up for one of these sprint cars. Or I hope that post that's sticking out there doesn't shish kebab some of our drivers. It freaks me out a little bit now that I've been in the promoting game a little bit. That kind of stuff stands out to me personally. And I think sometimes tracks get in a position where their profit margins aren't where they need to be, so they can start cutting corners. And if they're cutting corners on the fence, that means they're probably cutting corners on the insurance policy. These things mean a lot to me as a promoter myself.
Well, the fencing, especially when you run sprint cars at any racetrack,
You better
the
damn
fencing
sure.
has to be different and much better than
Tall.
if you're just running regular class of cars like modifieds or street stocks or any of those kinds of things. When you put sprint cars on your racetrack, that fence has to be
Taller,
above
stronger.
and beyond
Right.
anything that you would normally have.
No, I agree. Yep. Let's just make sure that if you see an issue at a racetrack and you don't like it, tell the promoter. Maybe if you tell the promoter enough that they'll fix it. You know what I'm saying?
We've seen sprint cars fly high, and they I don't care if it's wing or non-wing, a sprint car can get pretty high in the air.
Kirk, how tall are the walls at Knoxville? 20 feet?
Oh, at least. Yeah, I mean,
I
they've
can't
got
remember
the right,
what car it was 2 years ago when we were up there. That car did the grind on top of 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I mean, he was 20 feet up in the air, on top of it, almost out of the park, grinding like a skateboarder doing a grind. If they can get that high, they can hop just about any fence in the country.
No doubt about it. Knoxville's got, if you want to see what sprint car fencing should be, go to Knoxville. They've got, they're the sprint car capital of the world. They've got the sprint car fence that it takes to
Or
hold them
Lucas
in.
Oil Speedway.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's one of my things that I'm looking at harder and harder right now. And you know what? If a track can't afford to do it, they can't afford to be open. The way I look at it. We can't look at it
You
as
can't take a chance.
you
really can't.
No. Mm-mm. All right, Kirk, we got 4 more minutes left in the show. What do we need to get in here towards the end of the show?
Well, just again, we hope that everybody joins us on Racing Boys this week. This is our biggest week. There's just no doubt about it. The Chili Bowl is always our biggest week, and we'll be on the air 5:30 Tuesday through Friday with the Schoenfeld pre-race show.
Mm-hmm.
Racing gets underway at 6 o'clock Tuesday through Friday, and then on Saturday, 1 week from today, 12 noon. The Alphabet Soup will begin at that time. I think K-Mains will open up the day. They're double Alphabet Soup features as the day wears on, and then it'll all be capped off next Saturday night with that 55-lap main event. 55 laps in honor of Donnie Ray Crawford for the 27th Annual Lucas Oil Chili Bowl Midget Nationals. Over 30 hours of live coverage, and as Scott pointed out a little bit earlier, free of charge. We'll have the video of the press conferences, the post-race press conferences. We'll put up video packages all week long. And just want to point out that if you have any issues, I'm going to be on my computer with the emails. I will try to get to you as quickly as I can. If you have any problems getting logged in or whatever, we'll try to help you out as quickly and as thoroughly as we can as the week goes on. It's going to be fun, man. I'll tell you what, these races down there at the Chili Bowl are always just unbelievable. Just never fails how great the racing is at the Chili Bowl. And if you're down there in Tulsa, drop by and stop in, see us, say hi if you see us down there. If not, we'll have it all for you. Live coverage right here exclusively on Racing Boys.
Todd, you ready, man? You ready for your first Chili Bowl?
This will be my first one, won't it?
It'll be your first. Are you looking forward to it?
I'm getting a little
Get
nervous.
ready, Todd.
You getting a little nervous? How are you going to handle being away from your family for a week, bud? That's what I want to know.
Well, I could probably pull that off, but what about my guitars?
That's it. That's it.
Kirk, I imagine he's going to be bringing a guitar down there.
Yeah.
Huh?
Kirk might have to
You might have to play Kirk some,
lullaby music.
yeah, like
There you go.
put him to sleep music.
Oh,
right?
man.
You don't realize what you're getting in. You're rooming with Kirk down there. You know that, right?
Man.
Huh?
Yeah,
Do you know that, Todd?
That's what I heard.
You're rooming with Kirk down there. Now, he likes to snore a little bit.
That could be something,
And he likes
man.
to get up early to update the website. And we go to bed late.
You can go to bed.
I'm going to tell you, when we get back from the Chili Bowl, Todd, you're going to be tired. I'm just warning you now. When you come back, it's going to take you about 2 days to recover, isn't it, Kurt?
You need to tell my wife and kids that.
Especially 1 week from today when we get up early to drive into the Tulsa Expo Center when it's still dark outside at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the morning to set up for this show, and we're there for the full day. We'll walk out of there at, after midnight on Saturday night? A week from today at the Chili Bowl is always the big Saturday.
Hey, Todd, I don't know if I mentioned this to you, but we have to work on Sunday after the Chili Bowl, too, by the way.
We're doubling up the weekend.
Well, no, you got to tear down the cable and everything. And you're going to be a huge part of that because Sunday is my daughter's birthday, Tristan's birthday.
Oh, boy.
So when I load up, I might be taken out of there a little quicker than you boys. You might be on your own a little bit, loading some of the stuff up. Once my car's full, I'm headed down the road because I have not been to my daughter's birthday dinner or home on her birthday for 10 years.
Because of the Chili Bowl.
Yeah. And this year I'm going to be there, and next year, I don't know what day that January 13th falls on. It doesn't matter if it's Wednesday. I will be in Kansas City for my daughter's 21st birthday next year. So it's going to be good. I'm going to be able to be at this year's birthday. We're going to take her out for dinner on Sunday, and then also next year. So happy birthday,
Be
Tristan.
right in the middle of the Chili Bowl, right?
It doesn't matter. My kid comes before anything else. I can tell you right now. And that's her 21st birthday. That's one of the big ones.
That's a big one.
You got to be there on 16, and you got to be there on 21, and I wasn't there on 16, and I'm damn sure going to be there on 21. I can promise that. I'm looking forward to it. All right, Kirk. So don't forget, starting Tuesday night, RacinBoys.com, $9.95. Listen to the Chili Bowl Nationals, exclusive coverage. Don't forget, post-race press conference live, free on Racing Boys. It'll be right here on this screen that you're looking at right now. That will be post-race on RacinBoys.com. That should be a lot of fun. And then we got the Kick It for Cancer. We got a lot going on, Kirk. You ready?
Ready to do it, man. We've been down this road before. Let's go.
We leave tomorrow, so we start packing today, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in on the show. Don't forget, each and every one of Track Talk's hours, hour number 1 and hour number 2, brought to you by McCarthy Chevrolet. Check them out at kccars.com. McCarthy Chevrolet, I-35 in Santa Fe on Rawhide Road. There's no better time than right now to purchase a 2013 Chevrolet. When you get out there, tell Brian Schaefer the Racing Boys sent you. Get you some of that cheap interest. 0% interest on Silverados right now. Huge savings on new and used cars. For Todd, Kirk, I'm Scott. We'll see you next week.